The most expensive investing mistake isn't picking the wrong stock, it's starting too late. Because delaying investing by just 10 years can cut your future wealth in half. Not because you invested badly, but because you lost the one asset you can never buy back: time. And the strange part is, most people make this mistake while trying to be careful. Ironically, the people who delay investing usually aren't careless. They're the responsible ones. They want to understand the market first. They want to avoid mistakes. So they read articles, watch investing videos, compare strategies, and they tell themselves something that sounds perfectly logical. I'll start once I understand investing better. But in investing, something counterintuitive happens. The search for the perfect decision often becomes the most expensive one, because while knowledge is increasing, time, the most powerful factor in investing, is quietly slipping away. Months turn into years of preparation, and by the time many people finally feel ready, they've already missed the most valuable years when compounding could have been working in the background. Because while you're learning, time keeps moving. And in investing, time is doing most of the work. Many people think successful investing requires intelligence, or predicting markets, or finding the next great company. But the biggest advantage in investing is something much simpler and surprisingly boring. Yet it's one of the most powerful forces in finance: compounding, the quiet process where small gains begin generating their own gains. And over long periods of time, those layers of growth can become surprisingly large. Here's a simple way to picture it. Imagine two people planting the exact same tree. One plants it today. The other decides to wait 10 years. Same tree, same soil, same sunlight. But the first tree will always be 10 years larger. Money behaves in a very similar way. At first, growth is slow, almost invisible. But over time, something interesting happens. The growth starts accelerating. And this is why in investing, when you start often matters more than what you invest in. Because time quietly multiplies every gain. And the earlier that process begins, the more powerful the results can become. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine two investors, Sarah and Mark. Sarah starts investing $300 per month at age 25. Same strategy, same investment. Both earn about 7% per year, roughly the long-term historical return of the stock market, according to research from Vanguard and Morningstar. After 30 years, Sarah ends up with about $366,000. Mark ends up with about $183,000. Same monthly investment, same return. But Sarah finishes with twice as much money. And here's the surprising part. Sarah only invested about $36,000 more than Mark. Yet she ended up with $183,000 more wealth. Not because she was smarter, not because she picked better stocks, but because her money had something Mark's didn't: more time to compound. Time quietly did most of the heavy lifting, turning ordinary contributions into an extraordinary difference over decades. A friend of mine, let's call him Daniel, experienced this in real life. Daniel was financially responsible, stable job, savings account, no debt. But when it came to investing, he always said the same thing: I'll start later. Not because he didn't want to invest, but because investing felt complicated. Stocks seemed unpredictable. Every article recommended something different. So he waited. 1 year passed, then another. Eventually, almost 5 years had gone by. One day, he ran a simple calculation. If he had invested just a few $100s per month earlier, he would already have thousands of dollars compounding. That's when he realized something uncomfortable. He hadn't just delayed investing, he had delayed compounding. And compounding is the one thing in investing you can never recover later. The reason this happens is surprisingly psychological. Humans are naturally wired to avoid losses. In fact, Nobel Prize-winning economist Daniel Kahneman discovered that losing money hurts about twice as much as gaining the same amount feels good. This is called loss aversion. For most of human history, this instinct helped us survive. Avoiding risk meant avoiding danger. But in modern investing, that same instinct can work against us. Because avoiding all risk often means avoiding growth. Many people keep their money in cash because it feels safe. But inflation slowly reduces that money's purchasing power every year, which means doing nothing isn't neutral. It's still a financial decision, and that decision has consequences. Over long periods of time, small losses in purchasing power add up, quietly reducing what that money can buy in the future. And most people don't notice it happening until many years later. This is why many long-term investors structure their finances differently. Most people organize their money like this: income to bills, to spending, to investing. Investing becomes whatever is left over. But experienced investors often reverse the order: income to investing, to bills, to spending. Investing becomes the first decision, not the last one. And interestingly, the amount doesn't have to be huge, because the real advantage isn't motivation, it's automation. Many investors automate their investments the same day their salary arrives. Once investing becomes automatic, progress no longer depends on discipline. It depends on structure. And structure quietly removes the need for constant willpower, allowing the system to keep working even on days when motivation disappears. There's a simple way to think about this. Wealth rarely comes from one brilliant financial decision. It usually comes from hundreds of small decisions repeated over decades. And most of those decisions don't look important in the moment. They feel ordinary, almost forgettable. Starting earlier, investing consistently, and allowing time to do the heavy lifting. Because once time begins working for you, money starts growing quietly in the background, year after year, often much faster than people expect. What once looked like small progress slowly begins to turn into noticeable momentum, and eventually, meaningful wealth. And once someone truly understands this, they stop asking, "Which stock should I buy?" Because they realize the bigger advantage was never perfect stock picking. It was time. And start asking a much better question: how early can I start? If you want to understand how money really works, consider subscribing. Because financial knowledge is often the difference between working for money and letting money work for you. And the earlier that understanding begins, the more powerful the results can become over the years ahead.